What's up, Star Wars nerds, and welcome to another episode of Brett on Fett. On today's episode, we'll be going over the reveals from the 2026 New York Toy Fair. What the? What in the world? Why are you crying?
Those pre-orders. Why did you have to spend so much money? Open me up. Open me up.
Okay.
I'm so empty inside.
Yeah, I get it. Look, don't you think you're being a little dramatic? It's not like I paid for everything in cash. Everything's online now with credit cards.
It is so much money. Why did you have to buy 2 of everything?
Look, you know I collect both carded and loose. I've been doing that for at least 2 to 3 years.
And that ATRT, it was like $70.
Okay,
you had to buy 2?
I'm sorry.
Why?
I had to do it. Look, I have a YouTube video to make. Can we get on with this, please? Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 124 of Brett on Fett, and this past Thursday was the start of the 2026 New York Toy Fair, and Hasbro did have some pretty exciting reveals, mostly focused around the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So I want to go through those reveals, and by the way, the pre-orders for most of that stuff already went up on the next day. So I'm going to give my thoughts on those things. But before we get to that, I do want to quickly review for you guys the latest addition to the new Droid Factory Build-A-Droid wave, figure number 2, CU-28. So let's take a look at that figure. Alright, by the way guys, if you couldn't already tell, I am trying to get over a bit of a cold, so I am going to be sounding a little nasally today. Apologize for that. But here is CU-28. This is the second figure in the new Droid Factory Build-A-Droid wave. Very exciting wave because they're bringing back that concept of including little pieces of another droid. And once you get the entire wave, you can put the whole droid together. So here is CU-28, and the image is actually better than most Droid Factory images. A lot of times they use a very terribly photoshopped image, but this is a film out from the Book of Boba Fett, so that's cool to see. Here is a look at the back, pretty standard blueprint style Droid Factory card back, and I do like how they point out the different parts of the droid you're buying. And then here they have TC332 showing you the various parts you can collect and which one is included in this one, which is the head. So not a bad card back as far as Droid Factory card backs go. So let's get the figure out, and in case you're wondering, here is how the special collectible part is packaged in within the blister. These are coming with these little collectible cards now for Droid Factory figures, which is a nice little touch. And here is the figure completely out of the packaging, looking really good, I might add, with the nice metallic copper paint. That's a really cool color. And taking a closer look, you can see there are some green colored paint apps on the eyes. And then you've got some nice detail with this mold, some nice colors on the wires at the midsection. And apart from that, there's no weathering or anything like that. This is a pretty clean looking droid, but I do like what I'm seeing here. And again, the metallic paint is really nice. I think it's actually more reflective than what's coming out on the camera. So let's run through the articulation. Just a swivel there at the head, which is common with these Build-A-Droids, and a swivel at the shoulder. No hinge or anything like that. You do have a ball hinge at the elbow, so you can rotate it, and it does get 90 degrees, so that's good. And then of course, just a swivel at the wrist. At the midsection, you're pretty restricted as far as going forward and back. Not a lot of movement there, but it can twist all the way around, so it's just kind of on a typical ball joint. Unfortunately, swivel hips on these, and you can see the leg popped out really easily. And then you do have hinges there at the knee, which can actually twist. So that's pretty good. And then you've got a standard ball hinge at the ankle. So that is not bad. The swivel hips is really the only issue I have with the articulation, mainly because it kind of squeezes the legs together, so he's kind of knock-kneed, which is just kind of annoying, and so wish they could have done something besides swivel hips for this guy. By the way, when I ordered CU-28, I had completely forgotten about this guy. This is GS-C1B. So CU-28 is a repaint of GS-C1B, which came in that Book of Boba Fett 4-pack. I had almost completely forgotten about that droid. So this new figure is a straight up repaint, but that's okay because it is a good one. I'm loving the copper color, and I knew I wanted this droid in figure form when I saw him on Mando Season 3. By the way, in case you're wondering, here is a closer look at the Build-A-Droid part, which is the head, of course, and it's looking really good. The torso came in the last one, so here they are together, and things are panning out nicely for this droid. Now we just need the arms and legs. Alright, so we now have 2 of the 6 droids in this Build-A-Droid wave. There is a look at R5K6, the first droid we got. And here's a look at the rest of the wave that's been announced so far. We still don't know what the 6th droid will be, but these are being released once a month. And so the next one up is the pink droid QTKT, and she will go up for sale in early March. Alright, it's time to run through the recent reveals from Hasbro's Star Wars at the New York Toy Fair. And I'm going to be focusing on the vintage collection, but I will run through the other reveals very quickly. So let's go ahead and start with the retro collection. Hasbro did reveal the final 2 figures in the next retro collection wave, which is another wave from A New Hope, Episode 4. And these reveals were Captain Antilles and Wedge Antilles. No relation, by the way. And I think these are pretty good choices. I really like what Hasbro is doing with retro now by just making figures from the original trilogy that Kenner never got a chance to make. In my opinion, that's what retro collection should have been from the beginning. Specifically, I do like the Captain Antilles choice here. Wedge Antilles I'm not quite as excited about, but I do understand the choice. He is a very important character in the Star Wars universe that Kenner never made. And here's another look at the other 4 figures from this wave that's upcoming. They haven't shown what the card backs will look on these, but these are certain to be in the standard 6-pack boxes that they've been doing for the past year or 2 now. Switching over to the Black Series, going to run through these super fast, but they basically announced the first wave from the Mandalorian Grogu movie, starting with a new Mandalorian figure with a new Grogu that attaches to his jetpack. We knew we'd be getting these guys. Then we got the new AT-AT, I guess it's a remnant AT-AT driver from the movie. Then there is this AT-RT driver, very cool, looks kind of like a shore trooper. Then they revealed a remnant stormtrooper, and last but not least, Sigourney Weaver's character. This is Colonel Ward. Not sure how I feel about the face sculpt on that one. Now, all 5 of those are available through mainline pre-orders. However, Hasbro is doing something interesting. They're bringing back that first edition packaging, and the first edition packaging is exclusive to Walmart and Target in-store only. So if you're a Black Series inbox collector, you may want to go on the hunt for these when they become available in store. They did say these will be limited quantity. And I have to admit, part of me thinks this may actually be a good thing, you know, injecting a little fun into the hobby. I kind of miss going on hunts for special releases like this, even though it's literally just packaging. But if you're a Black Series collector that's watching this, let me know in the comments if this is something that interests you. And finally, for Black Series, something that came way out of left field is they announced these new mini helmets line. I just don't know about these. They never said the exact scale, but I'm guessing they're about 1/8 scale. And they're trying to cater to fans that don't want to spend the money or have the room for the full-size helmets. And I just think this is not a good idea. I do not see these selling. These are Walmart exclusives in the US, and I think Fan Channel everywhere else. These are similar in size to the Lego helmets, but the novelty of the Lego helmets was that they were Lego, and I just have zero interest in collecting this. But let me know in the comments if you are interested in these mini helmets. Alright, switching over to the vintage collection, and I want to start out by talking about a couple of reveals that weren't actually announced at Toy Fair, but just before Toy Fair, because I haven't made a video since this reveal, and that was the reveal of a couple of new Maul Shadow Lord figures, Merrick and the 11th brother. These are fantastic, exciting reveals. Let's start with Merrick. Very cool card back. and really happy we're finally getting this figure from the Ahsoka series, but it is the Maul Shadow Lord version, which means he is the cleaner version. He doesn't have all that rust all over him, which is excellent, and he looks so good. Really excited about this. Got his double saber. He's got the cloth goods cape. This guy is looking excellent, and possibly cooler than Merrick is the 11th Brother release. I'm so excited. I've wanted a figure of this guy since his first appearance on the Tales of the Jedi animated series. Very cool looking card back, and this figure does not look like it will disappoint. He looks so cool. It's just refreshing to get more bad guys. We're always in need of more baddies in the vintage collection, and it doesn't get more baddie than this guy. I mean, he looks pretty terrifying. I love the way his claws look. I love the face sculpt. I love his hood. His hood looks really awesome. Probably a molded soft plastic, but I'm cool with that. And he's got the soft goods cape, and he just looks so menacing. Just can't say enough good things about Hasbro's decision to give us both of these characters in the vintage collection line. These are going to make a lot of collectors happy. Now we just need Hasbro to start giving us the rest of the Inquisitors in TVC. Alright, so the first TVC reveal for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is of course the Mandalorian and Grogu. And if you're thinking to yourself that you are disappointed that we're getting yet another Mando and Grogu figure, then you really haven't thought this through. I mean, it is the Mando and Grogu movie. It was an absolute lock that we would get another release of these two. And what I'm most excited about this release is not the figures themselves, but the actual reveal of the new deluxe packaging. You know, they first came out with those deluxe boxes that had no window. You couldn't see the figure. So many of us complained about those. Then their solution was to go back to the cards, but they made the cards extra wide so they would be distinguished from a regular non-deluxe figure. And we complained about those because they didn't go with the rest of our carded collection. So at least Hasbro's listening, and they went with a new solution, and I really like this solution, which is to simply put a sticker on the blister that says deluxe. It looks good, it pops, it kind of harkens back to the early bird design, and it's also a removable sticker, so you got that bonus option too. If you don't like the sticker, you can peel it off. Me personally, I think it looks really good, so I would be leaving the sticker on. And then on the back, you've got the little symbol for the deluxe in the top left corner. I think this is a great solution. I am perfectly happy with this. Hopefully this whole issue of deluxe versus non-deluxe packaging can finally be put to bed. I really can't see any collectors having any issues with this packaging option moving forward. Checking out the figures themselves, you do have a little bit of extra accessories as you'd expect. He's got a long dagger I've never seen before. It must be new to the film, but he also has a little knife. He's got a swappable hand to specially hold the new rifle he comes with, and so that's a nice little touch. It is an all-new Grogu figure with this release, but maybe my favorite thing about all this is the jetpack has a little part that allows you to attach Grogu to the side of his jetpack, so it's kind of like he's hanging on to his shoulder in the jetpack. I really like this feature because I never know what to do with Grogu. I always have just standing by Mando's feet when I'm posing them, and I've always wanted something to be able to fix Grogu to the Mando. So really glad they finally went with something like this. Next up from The Mandalorian Season 3, they're giving us the Navarro Marshall version of IG-11, and this just seems like a no-brainer. The IG-11 was an excellent TVC figure. It's probably in my top 10 favorite all-time TVC figures, if I'm being honest, and I always thought they might do this figure. They did the IG-12 first, and now they've gone back to do the Marshall version of IG-11, and I think it's great. I think this is an easy, no-brainer figure to do. I love droids, I love the IGs, and so I think this is a really good one. I think it's going to look fantastic. All right, next up, back to the Mandalorian and Grogu film, is the Imperial Remnant AT-AT driver. We saw earlier Black Series got this figure, so it makes sense that TVC is getting it. And I'm really excited in the sense that the original AT-AT driver has been in my top 10 most wanted TVC figures for a while now, and so I think this is a huge step in getting that figure. They are very similar, and overall it looks pretty good, but my main concern is that helmet size. It does seem to be a tad bit too small. Now in this Hasbro Pulse fan stream video, it does look a little better, a little less small in this image, so I'm gonna reserve my judgment till I have this thing in hand, but I am concerned that they made it a little bit too small. Now here's a comparison I posted on my Instagram of the new TVC Mando and Grogu AT-AT driver compared to the Empire Strikes Back AT-AT driver. And as you can see, there are some subtle differences, mainly being the straps on the ESB AT-AT driver and the lack of a belt and gun holster. And so this would not be a straight repack to get the AT-AT driver on an Empire Strikes Back card, but it should be fairly easy to do, just some slight modifications. But again, looking at this image of the ESB AT-AT driver, you can see that the helmet on this TVC figure does look a bit undersized, and that still has me fairly concerned. So fingers crossed it's not as bad as I think it is. Continuing on with the snow-geared imps, we got the Imperial Remnant Snowtrooper. This is an interesting reveal. The body of this figure is pretty much identical to the ESB Snowtrooper. It's just a totally new helmet, and it's an interesting design. It kind of reminds me of the Star Wars Rebels era of Imperial troopers, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. And we didn't see this get revealed yet for the Black Series. I'm sure they're going to get it as well, but this is a nice little troop builder. But I imagine they will wait to see how well the movie actually does before putting out an army builder pack of these guys. And Hasbro still wasn't done with the snowy Imperials yet. Perhaps the most exciting reveal for TVC was that we were getting an all-new AT-RT. This is the Imperial Remnant AT-RT from the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. It does come with an AT-RT driver packed in, and this thing looks awesome. I've been wondering if they're ever going to give us a new AT-RT for the Clone Wars era or Revenge of the Sith, and so it just worked out that this vehicle was featured in the new movie, and so that's what it took to get it back into the line, and that's great. And what's really awesome is they are putting in a clear stand so you can pose it in different positions where you don't have to worry about stability issues, so that is really cool. The driver himself looks awesome. He looks kind of like a snow trooper version of a shore trooper, so I'm really happy about this, not just because of this release, but because it means more than likely we will get an all-new AT-RT for the Clone Wars era, and that's going to be really cool. Now, one thing I'm not happy about is the price. This thing is going for $67.99 US, and that is just a tough pill to swallow for a small vehicle like this. You know, on one hand, I kind of get it. If, you know, the prices are rising, if figures are $20, then you got to think a vehicle, even a small vehicle's got to be at least 3 times the price of a figure. So when you think of it that way, I guess it just makes sense. But man, it really does hurt, especially for collectors like me that wanted 2 of these. That was just really painful putting in that pre-order. And finally, for the official TVC reveals, Hasbro announced this Imperial Remnant Stormtrooper 4-pack or Army Builder pack, and I think this is great. I am good with any decision that involves putting stormtroopers, any kind of stormtroopers, into Army Builder packs. This is what the Army Builder packs were made for. These are pretty cool looking stormtroopers. I like the weathering on them. Each one's a little bit different. And you don't just have to use them with Mando-verse setups. I think these will look great around my cantina, mixing it in with the Sand Troopers. So I think this is a solid choice for an Army Builder pack. And by the way, this one is a Hasbro Pulse exclusive. The others are all mainline, but if you want this pack, you gotta get it from Hasbro Pulse. And finally, we did get one more reveal, although it was an unintentional reveal. Hasbro once again showing us that they are a company made up of human beings, and human beings make mistakes. Somebody accidentally put a name placard that read the Vintage Collection Ore and Geonosian Picador placed in front of the Mandalorian and Grogu figures. And this is obviously spoiling the fact that we are getting an all-new beast, and it's going to be the Ore with the Geonosian Picador riding on top of him. And this is great news. This is a really cool choice. We've never had this beast in 3 3/4 before, and so I think it's going to be a really good addition to the Battle of Geonosis theme. Just unfortunate for Hasbro that they spilled the beans this way, but you know, it happens. But still, a very cool reveal. I assume Hasbro will put out an official reveal very soon because of this blunder. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments what you're most excited about regarding the latest reveals from Hasbro from New York Toy Fair. Thanks for checking out this video. Thank you so much to my subscribers. Don't forget, you can also follow me on Instagram. Take care, and we'll see you next time.